The scientific method is a disciplined, systematic way of asking and answering questions about the physical world. Scientists use it as a means to gain knowledge and to understand the physical world. The first step of the scientific method is to make an observation. In the 1920s, Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming was growing bacteria on glass plates. Fleming observed that one of the plates had become contaminated by mold. He noticed that the area around the mold was free of bacterial growth. The second step of the scientific method is to ask a question. Fleming asked, why is the moldy area free of bacteria? And is the bacteria-free area a result of the mold or some other factor? Formulate a hypothesis or possible solution that can be proven true or false through testing is the next step in the scientific method. Hypotheses are formed using inductive reasoning or inference based on observation. Think of inductive reasoning as a bottom-up approach. That is, from specific observations you can propose broader generalizations. Fleming observed that the area around the mold was free of bacterial growth. So Fleming proposed a hypothesis that the mold was producing a substance that killed bacteria. The hypothesis is used to predict an outcome. The hypothesis can then be accepted or rejected depending on whether the prediction is true or not. Once the hypothesis is formed, it is tested using deductive reasoning. Think of deductive reasoning as a top-down approach. From a general explanation, we collect specific data to reach a conclusion about the validity of the explanation. Conducting an experiment is the next step. The choice of experiment or investigation is determined by the question. Scientists use three types of investigations. Descriptive investigations involve observing and recording natural phenomena. A scientist observing cells under a microscope and diagramming what is seen is an example of a descriptive investigation. Comparative investigations involve making observations that compare two objects or phenomena. A scientist testing the effects of water temperature on different organisms is a comparative investigation. Experimental investigations involve a process in which a fair test is designed, where variables are actively controlled, manipulated and measured to gather evidence to refute or support a causal relationship. Fleming set up an experiment to test his hypothesis. Throughout the course of an investigation, scientists record large amounts of data. Once the data is collected, the scientist must move on to the final step of the scientific method, which is to analyze data and draw a conclusion. Data from studies is analyzed in many different ways. Does the data support or refute the initial hypothesis? In the case of Fleming, his hypothesis was correct. The bacteria were being killed by the fungus. This discovery led to the creation of penicillin, the world's first antibiotic.